Hello and welcome back to Out Channel where we talk everything Bitcoin. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you are notified when we drop a new video. Today we are looking at how Bitcoin works. Despite being absolutely public, or rather because of that fact, Bitcoin is extremely difficult to tamper with. A Bitcoin has no physical presence, so you can't protect it by locking it in a safe or burying it in the woods. In theory, all a thief would need to do to take it from you would be to add a line to the ledger that translates to, "You paid me everything you have." A related worry is double spending. If a bad actor could spend some Bitcoin, then spend it again, confidence in the currency's value would quickly evaporate. To achieve a double spend, the bad actor would need to make up 51% of the mining power of Bitcoin. The larger the Bitcoin network grows, the less realistic this becomes, as the computing power needed would be astronomical and extremely expensive. To further prevent either from happening, you need trust. In this case, the accustomed solution with traditional currency would be to transact through a central, neutral arbiter such as a bank. Bitcoin has made that unnecessary, however. It is probably not a coincidence Satoshi's original description was published in October 2008. When trust in banks was at a multi-generational low. This is a recurring theme in today's coronavirus climate and growing government debt. Rather than having a reliable authority keep the ledger and preside over the network, the Bitcoin network is decentralized. Everyone keeps an eye on everyone else. No one needs to know or trust anyone in particular in order for the system to operate correctly. Assuming everything is working as intended, the cryptographic protocols ensure that each block of transactions is bolted onto the last in a long, transparent, and immutable chain. Mining, the process that maintains this trustless public ledger, is known as mining. Undergirding the network of Bitcoin users who trade the cryptocurrency among themselves is a network of miners, who record these transactions on the blockchain. Recording a string of transactions is trivial for a modern computer, but mining is difficult because Bitcoin software makes the process artificially time-consuming. Without the added difficulty, people could spoof transactions to enrich themselves or bankrupt other people. They could log a fraudulent transaction in the blockchain and pile so many trivial transactions on top of it that entangling the fraud would become impossible. By the same token, it would be easy to insert fraudulent transactions into past blocks. The network would become a sprawling, spammy mess of competing ledgers, and Bitcoin would be worthless. Combining proof of work with other cryptographic techniques was Satoshi's breakthrough. Bitcoin software adjusts the difficulty miners face in order to limit the network to one new 1 megabyte block of transactions every 10 minutes. That way the volume of transactions is digestible. The network has time to vet the new block in the ledger that precedes it, and everyone can reach a consensus about the status quo. Miners do not work to verify transactions by adding blocks to the distributed ledger purely out of a desire to see the Bitcoin network run smoothly. They are compensated for their work as well. We'll take a closer look at mining compensation below. Having, as previously mentioned, miners are rewarded with Bitcoin for verifying blocks of transactions. This reward is cut in half every 210,000 blocks mined, or about every 4 years. This event is called the halving or the halvening. The system is built in as a deflationary one, where the rate at which new Bitcoin is released into circulation. This process is designed so that rewards for Bitcoin mining will continue until about 2140. Once all Bitcoin is mined from the code and all halvings are finished, the miners will remain incentivized by fees that they will charge network users. The hope is that healthy competition will keep fees low. This system drives up Bitcoin's stock-to-flow ratio and lowers its inflation until it is eventually zero. After the third halving that took place on May 11, 2020, the reward for each block mined is now 6.25 Bitcoins. Hashes here is a slightly more technical description of how mining works. The network of miners, who are scattered across the globe and not bound to each other by personal or professional ties, receives the latest batch of transaction data. They run the data through a cryptographic algorithm that generates a hash, a string of numbers and letters that verifies the information's validity but does not reveal the information itself. In reality, this ideal vision of decentralized mining is no longer accurate, with industrial-scale mining farms and powerful mining pools forming an oligopoly. More on that below. Given the hash 0000000C2C4D5, you cannot know what transactions the relevant block, number 480504, contains. You can, however, take a bunch of data purporting to be block number 480504 and make sure that it has not been tampered with. If one number were out of place, no matter how insignificant, the data would generate a totally different hash. As an example, if you were to run the Declaration of Independence through a hash calculator, you might get 839F561 CAA. Delete the period after the words, submitted to a candid world, though, and you get 800790E4F. This is a completely different hash, although you've only changed one character in the original text. The hash technology allows the Bitcoin network to instantly check the validity of a block. It would be incredibly time-consuming to comb through the entire ledger to make sure that the person mining the most recent batch of transactions hasn't tried anything funny. Instead, the previous block's hash appears within the new block. If the most minute detail had been altered in the previous block, that hash would change. Even if the alteration was 20,000 blocks back in the chain, that block's hash would set off a cascade of new hashes and tip off the network. Generating a hash is not really work, though. The process is so quick and easy that bad actors could still spam the network and perhaps, given enough computing power, pass off fraudulent transactions a few blocks back in the chain. So the Bitcoin protocol requires proof of work. It does so by throwing miners a curveball. Their hash must be below a certain target. That's why block number 480504's hash starts with a long string of zeros. It's tiny. Since every string of data will generate one and only one hash, the quest for a sufficiently small one involves adding nonces, numbers used once, to the end of the data. So a miner will run the data. If the hash is too big, she will try again. The data 1. Still too big. The data 2. Finally, the data 93,452 yields her a hash beginning with the requisite number of zeros. The mined block will be broadcast to the network to receive confirmations, which take another hour or so, though occasionally much longer, to process. Again, this description is simplified. Blocks are not hashed in their entirety, but broken up into more efficient structures called Merkle trees. Before we come to an end of this video, please do not hesitate to share with others the informative information you found on this video. Also show the YouTube algorithm how much you love our content by hitting the like button. We would also love to see you back, so do subscribe. Thank you and have a good day.